I have to throw that away and not use that or leave it alone.
Okay, so that's pretty much eating the meat and spitting out the bones. So
exactly.
Since Brother Brian has jumped off, Brother Piankhi, I know you are a firm advocate of eating the meat and spitting out the bones. So I want to let my big bro chime in on that. Unmute yourself, bro.
Okay.
Yeah, I don't. The way I got into studying certain mythologies. I told you this story 100 times, little bro. I had an uncle who made me read the Bible and the encyclopedias. Like we had a set of World Book encyclopedias. I had to read every one, and then tell him, what I read. And I came across, Hercules and Zeus and all of these different things. And of course, when you read those as a kid, it's fascinating. And then when you're reading the Bible, you reading it, but you reading the King James Bible as a kid, it's a little hard to follow, sometimes. And so it wasn't until I got older that I started to be able to pick up and follow, what I was reading and what I had read. Point being, I don't see anything wrong with studying, multiple ideologies. I do think that it's incumbent upon one to settle on one as a foundation. For example.
Okay, Piankhi, let me ask you this. Before you get to your example, if the key word if, two letters. I know, big word for 2 letters. If there's only one way to eternal life, in which we all agree, including Brother Thomas and Brother Marlon, and myself, we all agree that there is nothing wrong with studying. There's nothing wrong with research. There's nothing wrong with obtaining information.
Mm-hmm.
So my question is, if after obtaining all of that information, if that information still leads you back to the truth, which is Jesus Christ, then what's the point of not studying Jesus Christ more than anything else?
Well then, but see, now you can't just throw that out there like that with me, bro. You already know, because you said the truth, which is Jesus Christ, but then I would have to know that was the truth. We can't just say it's the truth and then I just accept it. How would I know that that's the truth? And so if I had sufficient evidence that was the truth, then that would be one thing. But if I don't have sufficient evidence, then I can't just say, well, okay, that's the truth.
So what is sufficient evidence?
Sufficient, who knows until you have it.
So there is no absolute truth on what sufficient evidence is?
Again, if you don't know what's going to be sufficient to you until it's sufficient.
No, sufficient has a standard. Wait.
So check it out.
Sufficient has a standard.
How do you know? Like if whether it's anything, if you're looking at a meal, you don't know when you're gonna get full until you're full.
But so, that would be subjective. That would be saying, that would be saying I like ice cream that's chocolate, and another person saying that I like ice cream that's vanilla. That's subjective. Wait. Let me finish my point. Objective would be the limit into which a person is full. So you said that how could we look at a meal and be like, well, hey, I'm going to be full if I eat A, B, and C. Now I would agree with you. What my limit, I may can eat only 2 chicken wings and a piece of bread and I'm full. You may can eat 8 chicken wings and 8 pieces of bread and you be full.
So for you might hear that Jesus Christ, you might hear the biblical story, or let me
this is my point.
That's even more true. So now, like all of the analytics and everything that we go through, the philosophies, the idioms, the epistemology, all that stuff we go through, your sister, my wife, she ain't got to go through. All she had to do was hear it, read it,
and that's enough. Right? Watch this up.
Enough for her.
Wouldn't that go under the category of if I hear something, for example, if somebody tell me 1 + 1 = 2, I may believe that it was 5 at first. But if somebody said 1 + 1 = 2 and they hold up one finger and then hold up another finger and that shows 2 fingers, then I should believe that. I shouldn't have to wait
That's not the
for me to
same as
believe
1
what
+ 1
that's your
=
truth
2,
versus
though,
my
bro.
truth.
See, 1 + 1 = 2 is a fact. It's concrete. There is no getting beyond it. You got one.
So what's the objective?
So
what's the objective to that then?
Jesus being the truth. That's not 1 + 1 = 2.
Okay, wait. Okay, this is what Jesus is saying. Jesus is saying just like 1 + 1 = 2, there's only one answer. 2 + 2 = 4. There's only one answer to that. He's saying that it's only one answer to what the truth and salvation is. Are you opposed to that?
Am I opposed to what now?
That there is more ways to find the answer of 2 + 2 = 4. Are you opposed to that?
No, there's all.
Okay, so
2 + 2 = 4.
Okay, so Jesus is saying in order to inherit eternal life, 2 + 2 = 4. Are you opposed to that?
Say what? Jesus is saying 2 + 2.
Jesus is saying that there's only. Hold on, wait. Let me give you a better way. Jesus is saying in the same way that 2 + 2, there's only one answer for. If you're looking for salvation, there's only one answer. That's what he's saying. Are you opposed to that?
I'm opposed to it because that it's not the same thing.
It is. Okay.
You can't make those the same thing, bro.
Okay, let me give you a different example. Does B come after A?
In the alphabet, sure.
Right. Okay, so that's it. You can't put C after B. You can't put C after A. You can't put D after A.
Right.
B comes after A. So Jesus is saying there's only one way to eternal life. 1 + 1 = 2.
But
2 + 2 = 4.
Again, Jesus saying that you're saying in the biblical narrative, right?
Yeah, biblical narrative.
But that just because that it says that in the biblical narrative does not make it true.
Okay, so how do you challenge the claim? You hold up one finger. If you're gonna say, if somebody says 1 + 1 = 2, you say, well, I can't believe that's true. So the other person says, here goes one finger, here goes 2 fingers, 1 + 1 finger = 2. Jesus is saying the same thing. How are you opposed to that?
What do you mean? How am I opposed to it? Because it's way more complicated than 1 + 1 = 2. Well,
now,
what I would have to be shown is where can somebody show me that 1, there's an afterlife, period. 2,
okay,
that Jesus has the key, or believing in Jesus, etc., is the key to eternal life. All of that just because a narrative says.
Let me ask you a question. Okay. Now, for the listening audience, some of y'all may not know why we started this show. This question that my big brother, Piankhi, has just asked is one of the main reasons why we started this show, as into knowing if Jesus Christ is who he says he is. Now, me and my brother Thomas, we have already shown you proof that when we go to the 1st century, when it comes to evidence.
Wait a minute. Y'all showed proof?
Okay, we've gave
y'all about to do some groundbreaking. If y'all show proof,
I agree. No, I agree.
Go viral if y'all
wait. I agree. I didn't. No, wait. I agree.
You're about to put us on the map.
No, wait. I agree with you, bro. I didn't pull nothing up on the screen. I didn't pull no PhDs, nothing up. I agree. I didn't show you proof. Based off of logic and reasoning, me and my brother Thomas have explained to you in which you can go look up the proof from a PhD or a historian to back up what we're saying. So if I can finish
did they win a Nobel Peace Prize or some kind of Pulitzer Prize or something? Because they got this proof.
No. These people,
they have to have some kind of award if they've shown proof.
These people did not.
Is actually the key to an afterlife and all of that. Not that he that he rose from the dead after 3 days. If they showed that, they are an award-winning Nobel Peace Prize winning PhD.
Okay, now what? Now, this goes back into what I said when I first started out what I was saying. I said, according to logic and reasoning, me and my brother Thomas have presented proof based off of explanation, because I agree, we didn't put none on the screen. Based off of explanation, me and my brother Thomas has shown proof based off of what we have explained from the first century. Now, which is what started this conversation in the first place. Now, based off of what we were saying, when it goes to the first century and Jesus' resurrection and what he did, we have no proof. Again, we have no proof to disprove that Jesus did not do what he said he did based off of what the early church fathers and the apostles said he did. Why? Because when they gave an explanation for what Jesus did, the people who were not believers said that they stole the body and they hid it, but they could not present anything to show that they, not only did they not steal the body, they couldn't even show where they hid the body. So the only testimonial explanation, as in proof for what we have, for what Jesus did, as to why he was not in the tomb that the Romans put him in, has to pertain to what he said he did, because they have no other evidence to disprove what he said he did. Now disprove that. And while you're doing that, while you're doing that, Thomas, I'm gonna let you back up or break down what he's saying after he get through saying it, because I know you got
I don't even know what I have to disprove though, because we still talking about.
You have to disprove. Hold up, you have to disprove the claim that what non-believers said they stole the body and hid it.
I mean, but I'm not even worried about a body being stolen, because.
So where's the body at?
I look, the body could have been thrown away. It could have been thrown in a mass grave. They could have they could have burned it. Listen,
hold up, you can thrown to a mass grave. What grave? Where?
Listen. I have no idea what they.
We're talking about. We're talking about a boulder.
This is what I know. This is what I know.
Hold on, wait. We're talking about a boulder that was rolled in front of a tomb. That not. Hold on, wait.
We still talking about. Wait. Okay, go ahead. I'm gonna let you go.
One man couldn't have rolled this stone away.
Okay.
2 men couldn't have rolled this stone away. 3 men couldn't have rolled this stone away. 4 men couldn't have rolled this stone away. All of a sudden, a grave into where a man was buried at, based off of their knowledge, no number of men who they knew could have rolled this stone away the next day without nobody even seeing this. And the only explanation that they had as to why this stone wasn't in the place that the government, we're not talking about one person, the government put this stone right here. And it wasn't even there. They said that the disciples stole the body and rolled the stone away. There were only, we know it was over 200 disciples, but at this time in Jerusalem, there were only 12 disciples. None of the disciples outside of the 4 that was there at that time has any knowledge of the stone being rolled away. The women, again, the women, and who the Bible says should be quiet when it comes to pertaining to church matters, the women went to the men and told the men that the stone was rolled away. What evidence do you have that the disciples stole the body of Jesus Christ, since this is the explanation that the government, the Roman government, give as to why the body wasn't there? You have no explanation.
You never heard me say nothing about a stolen body though, bro. Because you would have to say, I believe the biblical narrative about his resurrection. Which narrative would I believe? Would I believe the first?
Not the biblical narrative. Not the biblical narrative. No. Now listen to what I'm saying, bro.
You've never heard me say nothing about a body being stolen, ever.
Well, I'm saying you don't have to believe the biblical narrative at all. Let's go into the
So
extra.
this is what I'm saying.
No, wait,
You've never
wait,
heard me say nothing about a body being stolen, though.
I know that, but I'm talking to the people who may be opposed to this, even though I know you don't agree with most of the stuff that these people say. Since you're posing the question, I'm posing it to you. So since we have extra biblical writings that are not in the Bible that shows that Christians followed a man who resurrected from his grave, and they believe that based off of the testimony.
Writings that show that a man was resurrected.
We have extra biblical writings that show that the followers of Christ believe that Christ
they believed it. No, well,
that they believed it.
See, this is my point. I get that they believe that. I have no doubt that people believe.
So where is your evidence to oppose it?
I don't have any doubt about that. What I want you to show me is where he did it. Did he do it? People can believe what they want to believe.
Yeah, show me this.
Did he do it? Did he actually resurrect from the grave?
This is your proof, bro. Listen. I'm not saying.
I hope you actually.
I'm finna show it. I'm finna show it based off of logic. Based off of logic and based off of
him after he was supposed to be dead. And I'm not talking about his disciples.
People saying
somebody who, like, did somebody say somebody in the government, a guard, like the movie Risen, or what was the movie when they was looking for him? The guards was looking for him. Did somebody see him and say, "Hey, man, that dude that was supposed to be dead, he alive. I saw him."
No. I would agree with you. I can't say that there are people. Again, I can't say that there are people who saw Jesus outside of his disciples, besides of after his resurrection. I agree with you on that. This is what we agree at. What I'm saying is, if the government explanation is that the disciples stole the body, and the disciples are telling you, "Hey, we didn't steal nobody. We didn't even know what was going on." What evidence do you have, according and that government? What evidence do you have to back up the claim of the government and not the claim of the disciples?
But you again, I ain't never said nothing about a body being stolen.
Okay, so what's the body?
All I'm saying
what is the body, Piankhi?
All I'm saying is
what is the body?
I don't know nothing about.
I know you don't.
I know
because
I never said the body got stolen.
Watch this. If they can produce the body, Christianity is false. What is the body?
I've never said anything about a body. But then look, just because they can't produce the body, you saying because they can't produce the body, that means that he rose from the dead?
No. Look, if they can't produce the body, if their explanation as to why the body is not in the tomb is because the disciples stole it. If the disciples is saying we didn't steal the body, then what other explanation is there?
And then who? Let me ask you this: who is saying that they stole the body? Like who? The Roman government?
Yeah, the Roman government.
And that's the because I've never heard this. I've heard about who was that? I think it was Boyd Ehrman who said something about it could have, but he was going off this. These were all hypotheses. So I've never heard about the government accusing them of. I thought it was the Jews who said they might have stole the body, but like I didn't know that like that was the official.
It was the government
decree that's what they were saying happened. But anyway, my all I'm saying is this, bro. All of that being considered, I got you, and I understand where you're going, and I see the point you making. All I'm saying is, if he was walking around and hanging out with his followers, nobody that wasn't one of his followers, nobody saw him, nobody heard, like, hey man, that dude that died, like he a fugitive because he was a criminal. Ain't nobody say,
no,
dude walking around, y'all need to go catch him. I mean, because they were saying crucify him. They chose Barabbas over him. So when there still have been some outrage, like maybe he didn't die, maybe somehow he really didn't die, and y'all should go find him and arrest him because we heard he's still alive. Ain't nobody do that nowhere.
No, okay, no. Watch this.
Well, everybody just said he
This is why I agree.
And they took the body. So,
no, this is where I agree with you at, bro. I'm finna just give me like 10 seconds. This is where I agree with you at. I'm not saying that anybody beyond his disciples saw him outside of Paul, who ended up being an apostle.
You don't find that strange?
No, I don't find it strange because we have evidence of when Jesus said that when he do what he's going to do, the sun was going to stand still and it was going to be darkened. We have evidence outside of the Bible from non-believers who showed that on the day that
you got evidence that the sun stood still.
The sun stood still. Yep.
Oh man, come on.
I'm surprised you don't know about it. Go ahead, Thomas. I'm surprised you don't know about it. Yep, evidence. Go ahead, Thomas.
Boy, I forgot.
Wow.
Man, I was listening to you.
That's deep.
Oh man.
But so let's say that. So let's deal with this question of him appearing to people. Now, people would have known that this man died and was resurrected. Wouldn't it be that if this man resurrected, that they then would have believed, thus making them biased people that you talk about? You know what I'm saying? So this is something that we have to consider when dealing with the resurrection, right? So, you know, if Jesus appears to all of these people, which is basically what the Bible records, right? So after Jesus gets crucified, he dies, they lay him in the tomb. What happens with all of his disciples, all of his apostles? They basically go into a state of grief or go back into what they were doing, right? So not expecting a resurrection from the dead, right? But what you see is that once the resurrection actually happens, that's when the resurrection is recorded in the Bible, that's when you see that there is a change in behavior and then a belief that he's resurrected. So my question is, how do people go from grief into celebration of someone coming back from the dead, right? So like, what are your thoughts on that? People, again, going from grief, then hearing about a resurrection, Jesus appearing, and then them going out into the world and proclaiming this very thing to other people.
You said, what are my thoughts?
Yeah, what are your thoughts on that?
Well, I mean, to me, I think that sometimes we say, or I'm not gonna say we say, but Paul's letters or epistles, whatever we call them, or said to be older than the Gospels. And so, if you look at the way Paul writes about Jesus, he doesn't write about him in the same manner that the Gospels do. So he write about Jesus as like what's the word? Almost like a celestial being, so to speak. And so it seemed like he didn't view Jesus, because he don't mention like his family. He don't mention
whose family.
Certain elements of his life. So you know what I mean. It's a bit of a different vibe with how he referenced him. And so if that's the earliest interpretation, and then we get Mark, and then we get the other gospels with regards to dates. And so to me, if Paul wrote about him first, and then these other people began to, I don't know where the belief actually started. Did the belief start with Paul? And you know what I mean? Like, what's the historicity of how the belief spread? Did it actually did it spread the way the gospel say it did, or did it spring from Paul and his interpretation? Like that's the part that's sort of murky to me. If Paul was the first person to write about him, then I know I might not be explaining it the way I'm trying to, but if Paul is the first person that wrote about him, then how do we know how the information and the doctrine was disseminated in the first place?
Right. So I think we would disagree on the writings and when they were written.
Yeah.
But I think that but to sort of explain why Paul would write about him differently is because Paul experienced him differently, right? So Paul never actually encountered the resurrected Jesus, right? So Paul was knocked off of his high horse, right? In his encounter, you remember the account, right?
Right.
So why are you persecuting me? You know, how am I persecuting you, Lord? You know what I'm saying? He's killing Christians, right? So a man who doesn't encounter the resurrected Jesus, but encounters a spiritual Jesus may have a different experience with him than the actual disciples would have, right? And so again, so that would be a theory of mine, right?
Okay. Thomas, let me add on to what you were saying.
Go ahead.
Now, I know, according to historians, the oldest writings that we have of the Bible comes from Paul, and we can date them back to around the 50 AD, and some would say even somewhere around 50 AD. Okay. Paul attests to that his information about Jesus not only comes from the spiritual encounter with Jesus, but it comes from the doctrine that he was also told about the same Christians that he was killing, right? So if Paul was killing Christians who was following the doctrines of Matthew, Mark, Luke, and John, which is the same writings that Paul attests to him reading before he made his conversion, that would mean that the Old Testament writings of Matthew, Mark, Luke, and John are older than the writings of Paul. Now, we know that according to historians, we have copies of copies of copies.
Hold on. Real quick. So you say Paul's writings were older, but
no,
Matthew,
I say that Matthew, Mark, Luke, and John writings were older than Paul's.
That they
so how do people come up with and this is a serious question for both of y'all then. How do they come up with this with the narrative of, well, I ain't gonna say narrative, with the hypothesis, I guess, is what they would call it, that Paul's writings are older than?
Because we can date Paul's writings to him originally writing them in the time that he wrote them. They're only dating the copies of the copies of the copies of the copies that we have from Matthew, Mark, Luke, and John. But notice this just take logic, bro. If we're only dating the copies of the copies, et cetera, then there has to be an original. If Paul is saying that he have read the originals, then that means that the originals have to be older than the dating that we date Paul writings to.
Right. So, and just to clear it up, like most historians would place Mark being the first gospel that is written.
Right.
Right. So the first New Testament book that's written, period. And then again, sometime after, you would have Mark and Luke creating their accounts to make more orderly accounts based on Luke's writing, right? So Paul's account isn't the earliest written, but again, so he does reference saying that he got he got his information from somewhere, right? Whether it be directly from people or whether it be from writings, and all this to say that when these were written, and I'll acknowledge the fact that we're talking about a time where these would have been written on scrolls, right? Not in the actual books. So they would have been huge. Everybody wouldn't have copies of them. And so, you know, you do have things in as far as distribution and things like that. But what we can say that that again there was a written account group, or sorry, Mark being first, and then the other ones, with all of them being finished. I would say that they were finished before 70 AD. There's some that date them being finished a little bit longer, but I would say that mine is based off of some theology that I'm learning and leaning towards. So, and that being the destruction of the temple. So yeah, like, but yeah, so based off of this information, as far as the gospel being written and the story being heard, right? So we talk about the appearances again. So Jesus appeared to his disciples first, then he appeared to 500.
Yeah.
Again, he physically ate meals with these people, is what it says. Like I said, when I look at these things, I look at the biblical account as a record, right? And I notice just the changes, just the shifts in people, just the shifts that people have, right? So to go from grieving someone's death, to proclaiming that they're alive, right? That's just something that we don't see historically with most saviors, right? In most myths of resurrections, they eventually die out because they're not true, right?
True.
And so I think that when we look at this account, we can say that this most likely happened. And not to mention that you would have witnesses around at the time, right? Witnesses to either attest to these people proclaiming these things and be able to say, you know what, like
that didn't happen.
and just talking about this body, like I'm listen, I believe there was probably a search for it, and you know what I'm saying. You may say, yeah, that they might have thrown it in a dump, buried it somewhere, but again, that doesn't explain how people who were grieving just all of a sudden, man, look, Jesus is dead. That was our man. Now let's go dig this, or let's go get this body out this tomb and make up this grandiose story. Like, I'm just saying, like, logically that doesn't follow, because as people, listen, if the person that I believed in died, guess what I'm gonna do? I'm gonna move on. Move on, because that's what logically follows. And I'm just one person, but to get 11 other people, you know what I'm saying, and then the women who were involved to believe this thing, and then to get 500 people after that to believe this thing, right? Like you like there would have to be some psychological gymnastics going on for this event to occur.
So,
Brother Thomas, I want to add on
500 and stuff like that. So is this in the biblical narrative, or are these numbers that y'all?
It's in the biblical narrative, and I understand. I understand you think it's just
no. I'm just asking for clarity, because and this the reason I always say the biblical narrative is because we know. I ain't gonna say we know, but I just say that there are some things in the biblical narrative that just don't line up with history. Like when we look at Pontius Pilate, like we know Pontius Pilate existed. This is a fact. But then we also, when we look at how he behaved, his behavior in what we know about him outside of the Bible is not indicative of how he behaved in the Bible. Like
but we don't have any evidence outside of
but we
outside
do.
of how they say.
But
No, we
do.
don't. No, we don't.
We do.
No. Okay. What are you pertaining it to? As in him letting go somebody who?
No, I'm talking about how he actually got fired from his job because they said he was too cruel.
But who said that?
Bruh, okay.
I'm asking. No.
Listen, I want to let
Brother Marlon go.
Let me expound on it for you. Hold on. Give me a second. Y'all keep talking.
Okay. What I was finna say is we only know very little about Pontius Pilate. We don't have a lot about the individual character as into how he was and what he did. We do have information that he was one of the perfects in the line of perfects that was in that list. Outside of how he acted in his individual everyday life, we don't have pretty much. I'm not gonna say we don't have some. We have pretty much nothing on that. But I don't want to get too deep into that.
Now, are you saying that we don't know that he got removed as prefect because of his cruelty to the Jews?
Yeah, I've never heard that. Yeah, I'm saying at least I don't know about it. I don't know about it. Yeah, I don't know about that. Now watch this. No, watch it again. I'm not saying you're wrong. I've never heard that he got removed as the perfect of what he was. But this is my thing. Was he the perfect at that time when Jesus went through the event that he went through? That's my whole argument. I'm not debating. I'm not even trying to make a debate if he was kicked out of office of or any of that.
So
that's
what
not my
I'm
argument.
saying is, so if that's found to be factual, then and we know that he had no issue crucifying Jews,
right?
Then his behavior towards Jesus would be kind of strange, don't you think?
No. Listen to specifically what I said. I said we don't have a lot of information about Pontius Pilate. I didn't say we didn't have any information about Pontius Pilate. Now, again, I also asked you, was you talking about the way that he treated Jesus and Barnabas, was that opposed to how other perfects have treated people in that time frame? No.
As far as that tradition, we don't have any records of them having that tradition with them.
Oh, I can show that. I can show that right now.
Go ahead.
I can at least show 2 to 3 perfects who let people out of jail based on their crime or for another reason.
During the so you got evidence that Roman prefects over Judea let people go as a tradition during the Passover.
I have evidence that Roman prefects have let people go on behalf of Jewish or Christian believers based off of whatever they believe. Yeah, I got evidence for that. Yeah, all day.
Okay.
All day.
I'd be happy to see it.
Okay, let me go check my gallery real quick and let me put it on the screen because I just want to make sure I'm showing the exact one. You know I got a lot of stuff in my gallery. Give me 1 second. 1 second.
Over there.
Oh yeah. You know you're a little broke, y'all.
Oh, we going to church today.
Oh yeah.
But
we always do.
All right, here we go. Let's go. Let me get back to my Zoom screen real quick. Y'all know I can back up whatever I'm saying. Piankhi, cut on screen share real quick.
Give me 1 second.
Being stingy.
Going to church today.
Y'all know I'm from y'all already know me. I do this, man. This what I do, man.
Do it, brother. Let's see.
You good to go, bro.
All right. Y'all see this right here? Piankhi, what's that name right there? I know you know I'm gonna butcher it.
Neferkari.
Okay. Make sure this is what I'm talking about. Okay, I don't think that's even what I'm talking about. Lord Egypt was said. Okay, no, that's what me and you was talking about the other day. My bad. Let me go back to my gallery. When me and you was talking about the King's List has been broken. I mean, you know, there was other people in the King's List that ain't a part of the King's List. My bad. Right. Hold up. Let me ensure my. Just for future references, any of y'all who want to act like the King's List don't have a break in it, I have this and other stuff beyond this to show that there are names in the King's List that are not a part of the King's list. So you don't want to challenge me on that either. Hold up, give me 1 sec. Give me 1 second, man. This just I be ready, bro. Hold up.
While you working on that,
Yeah, y'all gonna talk real quick.
yeah. So Brother Piankhi, so you asked, or you basically asked if there's evidence for an afterlife, correct?
Correct.
Yeah. So what do you think about NDEs, near death experiences?
I think that it varies. I mean, I've talked to people and I've heard of people who have had them, and their experiences vary.
Okay.
And to me, if it was an actual afterlife, like there was, I mean, consistent, it would seem like they would all have a common experience, wouldn't they? One way or the other, you know, whichever way it went, they would have, you know, some kind of, it'll be like a consistent experience with what these people experience, unless it's subjective.
Right. So let me now narrow down my question. Right. So during a near death experience, typically once your heart beat, eventually what precedes that is also full loss of brain function. I think it's within 30 seconds, 2 minutes, something like that. You know, please correct me if I'm wrong. It's been a minute since I read it, but those two things are in play. These people are verified dead, right? But what they're displaying, and we can disregard basically, we can basically disregard any of the experiences that would be, you know, outside the realm of verifiable evidence, meaning that these people who such and such a place, and you know what I'm saying, and experience imaginary colorful things. But you know, let's talk about people who associate their particular near-death experience with an out-of-body experience that basically entailed them coming back and describing events that happened immediately in the area while they were dead, such as you know, one person describing an accident that happened close to where they died. One person basically accurately describing um, some of the conversation that went on in a room. Basically, also being able to come back and recite numbers on devices that they wouldn't have access to because they were too high. So how do you explain those things if there isn't a consciousness after someone dies?
Well, I'm not necessarily saying with 100% certainty that there isn't consciousness, you know, beyond this plane of existence, or and an afterlife per se. So I'll be specific.
Mm-hmm.
What I'm more skeptical about is the concepts we have of heaven and hell, and part of the reason is the people who have had these near-death experiences and what they've said that they've experienced during those experiences, what they've said they've seen. Some having out-of-body experiences, some seeing light, some being confounded, be saying that they felt that they were surrounded by nothing but darkness. You have varying degrees of experiences depending on the individual that you talk to.
Right.
And so it would seem that if if there was a concrete heaven and a concrete hell, that there would be similarities in some of the and not to say that there aren't, but there's enough that vary that there aren't. It's not a. It don't seem like it's a one particular destination or one particular realm, sort of speak. And then these people didn't actually die. It was a near-death experience. And so, you know, like my uncle, for example, he said he didn't see anything. He and his wife were in an unfortunate situation. Right. However, she was very vivid in her explanation of what she saw. Mm-hmm. But he said he didn't see anything. Right. And so they both had to be revived. And so it just kind of varies. And so with that being the case, I don't know how we could take from those experiences and grab anything from them based on those on the not to say that the people are being inconsistent in their explanation, but based on the lack of consistency between each experience.
I was gonna say, before we get into that, do y'all mind if I step back into what I was saying a second ago, Thomas?
Yeah.
All right, Piankhi, let me share my screen real quick. I got my stuff ready now, man. Let's go into this, man. We're gonna be. This is Pilate the Younger, if I'm not mistaken. It says, when the Roman governor, and Piankhi, you probably know that name better than me because I'm not good at names. Aboriginals, whatever, was prepared to leave office, he released prisoners who had been incarcerated for crimes other than murder. Hold up. That's not it. I got a lot more to go. It says, but as to those who had been put to prison on some trifling occasion, he took money from them and dismissed them, by which means the prisoners were indeed anticipated. I might be wrong about that, but the country was filled with robbers. And this is 29:3 Antiquities from Falathius Josephus. We have Josephus again. Upon this, the multitude were pleased and presently made a trial of what he intended by asking great things of him. For some made a clamorous that he would seize them in their taxes, others that he would take off the duties upon committing. Okay, hold up. Here we go. And some that he would lose those that were in prison, and all which ceased, he answered readingly to their satisfaction, in order to get the good will of the multitude, after which he offered the proper sacrifices and fested with his friends. This is Josephus Wars 1, 2, 3, and 4. This is also Florentine's Papyrus 61, AD 65, a piece of papyrus who records a Roman governor of Egypt saying, you were worthy of scoundreling, but I gave you to the cowards. We're going to keep on going. In the footnotes of the same Florentine papyrus, there is another Roman case from a later period in which, I don't know how to pronounce their name, AD 441, reminds the people of Samaria that they deserve punishment, but by reason of, I don't know how to pronounce their name, of this illustration, their name is of emphasis, Ephesians, and because of their prayers ought not to be at all set aside, we release you. And it was asserted, however, that these people were released upon their petition to the proconsulars of their, what that says.
Bro, are you meaning to change your screen?
Yeah, I was showing different screenshots. It wasn't changing?
Nah.
Okay, my bad. Well, everything that I just read from, those were different screenshots from Pilate the Younger, from Fallacious, and the Florentine Council that showed that those were other Romans, perfects back in their day, who also released prisoners based off of certain petitions or reasonings due to their own nature.
During the Passover?
Not doing the Passover, but just releasing prisoners due to petitions or due to their own nature. So it wasn't
in exchange for another prisoner, and were they insurrectionists against Rome?
No.
Like just walk with me for a minute. Can you
No, I
imagine?
got you.
We all know how Rome was. Can you imagine an insurrectionist against Rome being released for any reason?
No. As what I just said, the ones I just read to you, none of them. Again, none of them was saying that it was a tradition for the perfect to release one person over another person. No, nothing I showed was saying that. What I showed was saying that there were different people in the same position as Pontius Pilate who released prisoners, either based off of request, petition, or due to what they believed. So in me showing those things, it shows that it's reason or logic for us to believe that Pontius Pilate could have released Jesus based off of what he believed, or petition due to whatever reason. It wasn't against that. We have evidence of more than one person.
I would say this, bro, and I respect your
Barabbas, or are you talking about something else? What are you talking about?
No, I was showing other people who held the same governor position as Pontius Pilate, who released prisoners based off of either petition due to the people, because remember, according to the Bible, the people petitioned Barnabas over Jesus. That was a petition. So I showed that there were other Roman perfects in the position of Pontius Pilate who released prisoners based off petition, request, or due to their own customs.
Right.
I respect, what you just read. The thing is, one, we've heard from Jewish scholars who say there was never that tradition as it pertains to the Passover. Second, again, just applying general knowledge, we have Barabbas, who is described as an insurrectionist against Rome, being exchanged for Jesus, who they had no proof of any wrongdoing. Now, this man was a proven insurrectionist, and we know how Rome operates. He could have just arrested Jesus and crucified both of them, but he gonna let a known insurrectionist go?
What does the Bible say, though, bro? But what does the Bible say? Does it say that this was the custom of every perfect in the position, or does it say that this was the custom of Pontius Pilate?
What I'm saying, it don't make sense for any prefect.
No, listen. If I just showed you evidence of other people who were perfects who let go of people due to their own customs, does the Bible say that this was a custom of every perfect, or does it say that this was a custom of Pontius Pilate?
Again, this is my point. If we talking about was Barabbas an insurrectionist?
That has nothing to do with what the
everything
custom
to do
says,
with
bro.
it.
No,
because Rome, no Roman governor would do that. No Roman governor would do that.
No, wait. Okay. You said that no Roman governor would do that. Now, I was unaware that my other screenshots wasn't showing while I was switching them. I can post them on screen now.
So we ought to assume that a Roman governor would let somebody who is in known open violent rebellion against Rome go free.
We have more than one perfect, just as Pontius Pilate, who let go of other prisoners. Fine.
Did it say did it say what the prisoners was accused of?
Some of them do go into detail as into
were any of them accused of what Barabbas was accused of?
So I think
no, I can't say that any of them were in jail for the exact reasons that Barabbas was accused of, but there was some. I mean, there was one. I'm gonna say one, not some. One. There was one who was in jail for simply being a Jew and against the Roman government, and they released him because the Jews ran up on the Roman governors. They took one person as a hostage and made them release him for another prisoner. So it ain't no telling what he was accused of.
They did this to Rome.
Wrong.
Oh,
Yeah.
Man.
Yeah. But
okay, so this what I had to read.
Listen, bro.
This is what I had to read. This from Paula McNutt, PhD in biblical studies.
But did you hear my point though, Piankhi?
I got your point.
Before you read that, wait. You said that we have no reason to believe that a Roman governor will let a prisoner go for the reasons that you said for, right? I just showed, and we'll show again.
No. I got you, bro. And it's difficult knowing everything we know about how Rome operated that they would do that. But okay, if they did,
but if we got more, wait.
Yo,
okay.
I get a
so what do we know about Rome, though, Piankhi? What are you inferring when you say what we know about Rome?
I'm not inferring anything. Rome was ruthless to those who opposed them. They were ruthless to them.
Watch it though. If we got 3 to 4 other perfects who let prisoners go for whatever reason, how can we say that what's known about
for
Rome
whatever reason? If somebody is in violent rebellion against Rome, that was not their policy to let them go. Their policy was to kill them.
Jesus was rebellious against Rome and Barnabas. So we can't say that why they would let go of another. Hold up.
So they would trade one rebel for another.
No.
Just killing both of them.
No, I'm not saying that. What I'm saying is we would have we have evidence that perfects let people out of prison under their own ideology, not because of what other Roman governors have did. That's the same thing the Bible said that Paul did. I mean, that Pontius did. It was his custom. The Bible don't say that it was Roman custom for them to let somebody go. It says that it was Pilate's custom. So we have evidence that other perfects, just like Pilate, because of their customs, let people go. Ain't no getting around it, bro.
I got you. So this is what I'm gonna read. This from Paula McNutt, PhD in biblical studies. She says that the Gospel's portrait of Roman governor Pontius Pilate seems to come from an alternate reality. They unanimously portray him as a concerned warrior of Jesus, and he seems to not be able to bring himself to execute him, but is also too weak to tell the Jews no. He seems to go back and forth and wrestle with his conscience. Instead of letting Jesus go, he sends him back, but ends up washing his hands of the affair. Moreover, at the point Pilate gets so scared, he finally gives in and could do, and like, and like a coward, cut it off instead of being the occupational ruler he was, and of this strategically important province, and that's seething with rebellion and questioning the mood of the people. This is curious because the real Pilate was nothing like this doormat the Gospels describe. She continues, like his boss, the Emperor Tiberius, Pontius Pilate was an arrogant, ruthless despot. Philo of Alexandria describes him as a naturally inflexible and stubbornly relentless, committed, corrupt despot who insulted and outraged the people on a regular basis. He repeatedly murdered innocent victims and constantly and most gallingly, savagely crucified 13 innocent Jews. Josephus described him as an extremely offensive, cruel, and corrupt human being. Pilate had no problem killing the natives, nor did he ever lose much sleep over whether they were innocent or not. On his command, Jews were massacred, such as in Josephus' Antiquities, volume 18.2, when his soldiers, disguised in local dress and armed with daggers, slipped into a crowd of protesters, and on his signal killed everyone caught in their net. Josephus says it was a great number, protesters as well as innocent bystanders.
Now, this is what I would ask you, bro. Go produce the protesters or the writings that she said that are said about Pontius the Pilate. Because this is why I'm I know, I heard everything you said. This is why I'm asking that. Because up until what I want to say, 2013, 2014, among scholars, it was beef that Pontius Pilate ever existed. The only evidence that we have of Pontius Pilate existing is the ring that he would have gave to the people who would have gave his stamp of approval on Pacific documents, and the writings in Josephus pertaining to the while you was reading, I just put them on the screen. Those are the only writings we have about Pontius Pilate. The only one. So she lying, bro.
I always saw that, but I guess that's when I started studying. I always saw that Caiaphas, there was always, and since I've been studying, it was always proof of Caiaphas, the high priest who conspired against Jesus, and it was always proof of Pontius Pilate.
No, watch this. That I would agree to, but among the scholarly arguments, they just not came to a conclusion. I could be wrong about 2013. It could have been 2012 or 2014. They were, bro, among the scholars, there was no conclusion said among them until they found this ring of Pontius Pilate. Because if they already had the writings of what she's saying, if they already had those writings, there wouldn't have been no dispute for that long. So they have been disputing up until modern times if Pontius Pilate even existed, up until they found this ring.
Can look it up again. Philo of Alexandria.
No, I agree with you. No, watch this though. I agree with you. It is no dispute if Pontius Pilate had existed. I 100% agree with you on that. But among scholars, they didn't accept it unanimously until this ring that was found of Pontius Pilate. You know how it goes when they put their ring inside the molding seal, and for you to go to seal the letter and make an improvement. I mean, to make and approve of what you sent to another king. This what made the unanimous consensus of what was said. Up until then, it wasn't unanimous, bro. So and that's because they didn't have a lot of record of Pontius Pilate and what his life was like. So I would say, and I'll go on record saying this, she lying, bro. I'll go on record saying that.
Ooh.
I'll go on record saying that.
And
about certain things. And I'm just going based off of scholarly studies. And I can prove what I'm saying based off the scholars, according to this ring that they found on Pontius Pilate. It wasn't unanimous until they found this ring, in which I know me and you, Piankhi, have had this discussion before. And if in previous videos, I think it probably was with another person. I've shown you this ring that made them come to a unanimous conclusion.
I believe so. Either in the conversation or we was on the show. I can't remember which one.
Yeah. And that's so they just showing that I'm being unbiased, because I've always believed that Pontius Pilate exists, but at the same time, I also follow scholarship, and scholarship said that it wasn't unanimous yet. So I was up in the earth until they found that ring.
Let me ask y'all this. And this for you and Thomas. What does scholarship say about the resurrection?
So
Thomas, you want to answer that, and I'll come after you.
So do you want to deal with secular scholarship or Christian scholarship?
Both.
Right. So I would say, for the most part, they deal with the circumstances, right? So when scholars deal with these things, and I would say that one person who is doing an extensive book and has done a lot of research on the resurrection, he is a Christian, of course. Brother Marlon might be gone.
I think Marlon fell asleep on us, man. Marlon, wake up, bro.
I just muted his mic.
it's 3 o'clock in the morning over here. So, but
Yeah, it's 145, 147 over here.
yeah. So, but what scholars would say, right? So even if they don't agree to the actual resurrection, there are certain things that they do agree on, right? So, so I would say that one thing is that there are a few different theories as far as the resurrection, and a lot of these have been sort of gone through and rejected. There's one, the swoon theory. I'm sure everybody's heard of that. You know, basically that Jesus didn't really die. You know what I'm saying? He basically, you know what I'm saying, he appeared dead but really wasn't, and you know what I'm saying, just came back alive, which is absurd, right? He would have anybody else would have died strictly from the whipping of cat of nine tails, and basically like just the abuse that his body endured wouldn't allow for him to live. And also being that Romans were expert executioners, there's no chance that he lived. The hallucination theory of the actual resurrection, right? Like that is rejected because you're talking about a mass hallucination of
Yeah, I
everybody.
think that's ridiculous.
Yeah, of everybody at one time. And so yeah, so it seems ridiculous. And you know, to appear to 500 people at one time. So a lot of scholars reject that theory. The impersonation theory, which basically says that, you know what I'm saying, that someone impersonated Jesus either on the cross, or that, you know, some people even say that he had a twin brother.
I was just about to say, ain't it a twin theory as well?
Yeah. Or somebody that looked like him died on the cross, or possibly was, you know what I'm saying, was pretending to be him as well. Then you've got a spiritual resurrection, which basically, you know what I'm saying, which to me would be similar to a hallucination type deal. Then there's theft, of course, which, you know, again, I think like that one is still one that people get hung up on, right? Um, but um, most scholars would reject it. But most scholars would agree that something unique happened based on the circumstances surrounding the resurrection, right? So again, so the things that I brought up as far as, you know what I'm saying, there being this entire spark of a movement coming out, or I didn't bring that up, the brothers brought that up tonight, but this entire movement that sparks from this claim, right? So that's one thing that they do look at, and just ask what happened. Now this is neither confirming this is not confirming that the resurrection happened. It's just observing the details around the resurrection, and saying that something had to happen, right? And then they would look at the conversions of Paul. They would look at the conversion of Jesus' brother James, um, who who became a believer. And so they would look at those details and say that there was something that happened. But because, again, they don't believe in the supernatural, they would reject the supernatural, because it is a miracle, right? It's a supernatural occurrence, because people don't die for days and then raise, right?
Mm-hmm.
And so I think that, and that's something that we can all agree to, which is why this is a supernatural thing, that we believe, right? And again, and going back to the theft theory, the reason that scholars mostly reject this is because of the condition that the disciples were in at the time of his death. So that's what scholars believe, right? So scholars don't say anything about the resurrection; they just deal with the circumstances, in dealing with the resurrection. And so they ask those questions and they try to decide whether or not those true. And mostly those theories have been thrown out outside of the unknown.
And I would say, if we look at the scholars who are in the field of study on this topic, you have a 50-50, and I would say it's probably 51-49 of believers rather than non-believers. Now, this is the argument. The majority of them is not even the argument if Jesus existed or not.
Yeah.
50% of them, and I'll take that 1% off, 50% of them believe in the supernatural. The other 50% does not believe in the supernatural, and they like to blame it on science. But we know that science does not make a statement as into saying that supernatural things does not occur. Science says that we don't deal with supernatural because they are things that are not reputable, measurable, or testable. So science does not rule out the supernatural, period. So for those other 50% of scholars who are only ruling out the resurrection of Jesus Christ based on the natural implications of science, then they are in a faulty mindset, and they're committing a fallacy, and they're blaming it on science, when science makes no claim to that. So we have more than enough evidence as into why historians believe that Jesus did resurrect from the grave based off of the logic and the reasoning coming from the information that we have from that time period pertaining to what the disciples said about the body not being there when it was supposed to be there, based off the government saying the body was not there when it's supposed to be there, and based off the only explanation for the governors saying that the body wasn't there was because the disciples stole it, in which they had no evidence of the disciples actually stealing the body or doing anything to the body, when the disciples were just as surprised as the government was. So again, the 50% of historians, which I would say 49, maybe less than that, but I'm gonna say 50-50 for argument's sake. The 50% who says that the supernatural resurrection of Jesus Christ didn't happen is only based off a faulty notion of what they believe about science, and which science doesn't say, and the other 50% agree with science, and which science says that the supernatural is not opposed to happening to anything in reality. So we have more than enough evidence to prove that Jesus did raise from the grave beyond skepticism.
Okay. Well, so this is what I'm gonna say, and then I'm gonna let each of y'all close out because it is 2 o'clock in the morning where I'm at. So
Don't run now. I'm just playing.
But you know I ain't gonna never run. But I'm gonna say this. I hear you with regards to saying that we have evidence. Where we defer is you saying you have proof. It's a difference between having evidence and having proof. And so the only proof we would have is, like, right now, I'm in my spot, and like Paul on the road to Damascus, I had a similar experience. Hopefully I don't lose my sight because I'm blind as it is. But that would be proof. Other than that, we just have evidence because we didn't see it, we wouldn't know. We have evidence, and then we can say, well, I believe it based on this information, based on this narrative, etc. But to say we have proof would be getting a little bit ahead of ourselves, and that's just in my opinion. But first of all, I want to thank our brother Thomas.
Man, bro.
I mean,
Thomas.
It's an honor to have you on, and I definitely appreciate you coming on and chopping it up with us.
Put me out of
I'm gonna let each of y'all take the time and close out, and then I end it with my usual spiel.
I'm gonna do the honors and go first, so I can let y'all linger on to my brother Thomas' last words. Brother Thomas, man, it's been man great to share another platform with you, man. I look forward to you coming on more often, man. You as my Christian brother, for us to, just give some understanding and reasoning to these biblical scriptures, man, and let people know that a lot of the stuff that they believe about the Bible actually is not in the Bible. And for the listening audience, y'all already know I am the host of Trust and Believe the Gospel. I go by the name NoboDy, because I'm always trying to tell everybody about somebody who can save anybody, and that is Jesus the Christ. I feel privileged to be on here again with my brother Piankhi, and again with my brother Thomas White on Paradigm Shift 314, TV. And just hope y'all tune in to the next one, man. I love y'all. We love y'all. Jesus love y'all.
Hey, that's what's up. Well, brother Piankhi, I appreciate you, sharing the platform with me, brother. Brother NoboDy, if that's what you want me to call you on here. Listen, brother, it's just been great. So brother Marlon, he didn't make it. He's in New York, so he's in the same time. What's it called? Time, whatever. Anyways, we're in the same time zone. So he didn't make it. I made it. I'm usually up anyways. But it's been great. One thing that I appreciate Brother Piankhi for is just being willing to not totally neglect us Christians as being those people who are out of their mind for believing, especially not discount where he actually came from. So brother, I think that's awesome. I do want to encourage everybody that when it comes to evidence and when it comes to proof, right, everything that you believe by faith, right? There's nothing that you don't believe that hasn't been told to you. There's nothing that you don't believe that is an original thought to you. So trace those sources back to where they go. So my hope is that everybody finds truth and allow these truths to guide you into at least a place where you can begin to develop healthy views instead of views that sort of cause you to immediately reject certain things just out of either hurt or out of how should I say, pride, sometimes also fear of the unknown. And again, so we believe everything that we know by faith. There are some proofs, some evidences that do guide those things, but everything that we know, I would say that there are a few things that we know with 100% certainty, and don't let those things deter you from believing certain things that may seem untrue. All right, so that's my spiel, and man, a happy New Year if I don't see you.
Happy New Year.
Well, again, I want to say thank you to both brothers. My little brother, NoboDy from Trust and Believe the Gospel. The brother Thomas White. Like I said, it was an honor to have him on the platform. Hope to see him back. And I'm gonna do my spiel that I usually do at the beginning of the show to end the show. So I'm gonna say hotel to my fellow Kemetic brothers and sisters. I'm gonna say God bless to my Christian brothers and sisters. I'm gonna say assalamu alaikum to my brothers and sisters in the NOI. I'm gonna say Islam to my Moorish brothers and sisters. And I'm gonna say Jambo to the rest of my brothers and sisters throughout the African diaspora, be it here in the wilderness of the United States of America or beyond. Obviously, I say that welcome, or in this case, this ending or this goodbye for one reason and one reason only. Is because if you're Black, I'm with you, and I hope that you are with me. Our different ideologies shouldn't keep us from uniting. We can disagree without being disrespectfully disagreeable, as you've just seen. So join us again on Paradigm Shift TV 314. Subscribe, like, share the video. Subscribe, like, share the video. My brother, NoboDy and Trust Believe, and NoboDy. My brother, NoboDy from Trust and Believe the Gospel. And we'll be back at it again with another video. Me and my brother gonna be getting back at you tomorrow. So we'll see you soon. That's peace.
That's peace.